What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NBA to the Galaxy Pod with myself here. You can find me at Scotty Drown on Twitter. And my other host here, you can find Slim at RTR30111 on Twitter as well. Before we get started in here, guys, as you pop in to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, help us grow the channel, help us get the name out there. And start to get the regulars in here so we can get more commenters, get more people involved in the show. That's what we're looking to do. We're looking to get as many people as we can involved in this show and interacting with us. So definitely be sure to help us out there. But Slim, my man, happy Wednesday. Happy Juneteenth. This is a nice holiday to come in here and talk some hoops. The NBA season is over. How you feeling today, my man?
I'm doing good, bro. Happy Juneteenth to all of those who celebrate. As you can see, I got my shirt on. But yeah, happy Juneteenth, and yeah, man, doing good. The finals is over, but hey, we made it. Me and you both been covering this whole season since day one, and man, it's been one heck of a ride. But hey, we made it. But yeah, man, doing good. Can't complain.
Yeah, you mentioned it, man. It's been a long season. The playoffs, it was up and down as far as entertainment levels. It kind of, for me, I know we talked about it before the show started, but it kind of, dwindled down at the end. Like, as far as the level of entertainment, I had little to no interest. Once I saw Boston lose by like 40 in Dallas, I already knew what the plan was. They're heading back to Boston already. Half the team might have already been on the plane. They sat their starters in that game 4 from halfway through the third quarter to the end of the game. So those guys might have headed back right up to Boston to get ready for game 5 to close them out at home, which obviously, why would you want to close it out in Dallas? This is the first Boston championship in a hot minute for the Celtics. So they wanted to go back to Boston. I already knew what was going to go down in game 5. And of course, they come out and they lay to work to the Dallas Mavericks. But what were your thoughts? First of all, I want to start here. Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown. Do you think that he rightfully deserved that? Do you think it should have gone to a guy like Tatum? Like, what are your thoughts there on the Finals MVP award?
Shout out to JB, well deserved. He earned it.
Yes,
Let's start on the defensive end. He did a phenomenal job on Luca. Like, obviously, Luca still ended up with some pretty good numbers, but overall, he did a pretty damn good job of guarding him and getting physical with him and making him give the ball up. So that's where, for me, like, he get a lot of like points to get the Finals MVP from that standpoint. And then offensively, he was getting it done. I mean, he shot like what 50-some% from the field or something close to that, and he was giving you like 20 points per game. So I mean, it's pretty good. So I'm not really mad at that. Like, he was consistent the whole series. Like, he had a bad game, I think, in game 4. Pretty much everybody did, but
everybody.
Yeah, everybody did. But for the most part, I mean, I'm not mad at it at all, man. Shout out JB, man. Salute.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. I think there's an argument for Tatum just because might be my Duke bias coming out there, but he had the 22 points per game. He had the 8 rebounds, the 7 assists. He led the team in points, rebounds, and assists or some shit throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, he did.
But the shooting percentages for Tatum were just disgusting. And Jaylen Brown didn't shoot the ball he wasn't electric, but he was better than Tatum, at least from that stance. And he did guard the best player most of the series. If not, he was guarding Kyrie Irving. So he had his responsibilities. He averaged 1.6 steals per game in the series. So he was very impactful on the defensive end. But yeah, even with my Duke bias, I say that jokingly. I love to see Jaylen Brown win it over Tatum personally. Like, I love to see him. He got the bigger contract somehow. He goes out there, he proves it. He proves that he's worth that contract by being the best player on the best team this season, at least in the bigger moments where it mattered. So I was happy to see Jaylen Brown kind of back up all of the hate that came towards him with that contract. I once again kind of want to put it out there because I think I've been, a very open Celtics hater on this show. I don't dislike like certain guys. It's really Al Horford that like takes the cake for me with the Celtics team. As far as why I hate them. Yeah. Outside of Al Horford, you got guys like Drew Holiday. He's never who doesn't like Drew Holiday? Like, let's be honest. He's a good, humble basketball player. He's always been that way. Jaylen Brown, another guy that really just goes about his work the right way. He does things for the community. He's a good person off the court, you can tell. And then so far, so on and so forth, as far as down the list of those guys, it's really just that Al Horford impact. So I hated to see Al Horford win the NBA championship. I think that's the best way I can put it, rather than the Celtics specifically. I do think, Boston, New England area fans are a little spoiled, though. Patriots fans, Celtics fans. Yeah, they're a little spoiled with the championships.
So my thing is, so with Al, like, is it like, is it more so like with the contract thing with the Philly, with the Sixers, like that's why, because they gave him the max, or is it just?
It's more or less how it all played out. So you sign him to a big contract. It's, when you sign him, first of all, as a Sixers fan, you're like, you have to talk yourself into it, because it doesn't make a ton of sense putting, Al Horford next to Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and so on and so forth. But then you get into the actual season with Al Horford on the roster, and you have his sister coming at Philadelphia and on Twitter because, Philadelphia fans are upset with Al Horford's production on the Sixers, his fall off from leaving the Celtics and coming to Philly. And so we were going in on him. Sister gets mad at us, goes in on the fans, and then it just turns into this all-out war where now Sixers fans, Philadelphia hates Al Horford. And he said some slight things. Obviously, ends up back in Boston. So it feels like he was more like just a double agent here to take our money and then make our team suck. So there's just a lot of toxicity mixed in there with the Al Horford and Philadelphia relationship. So yeah, I think that's how honestly most Sixers fans feel, because I think the only other guy that was like super annoying during this era, like the Tatum and Brown era, would be Marcus Smart with the green hair and shit. Like, always doing extra stuff, you know what I mean? He's physical, he's an adjutant. He was that other guy that I really, really just couldn't stand on their team, but obviously he's gone. So my disdain isn't necessarily there. Let's talk about the Mavs a little bit here, Slim, man, because they're the team I feel like didn't show up to this series, right? Like, this series wasn't supposed to be this boring. It wasn't supposed to be a 5-game series. I get it. Boston won 64 games this year, but the Mavs took out some pretty good teams on their way to Boston in the Minnesota Timberwolves and Oklahoma City. Who was the most disappointed? Who were you most disappointed in from the Dallas Mavericks in this series?
Oh, Kyrie Irving. That's not even a question. Like, maybe you can back this up, but then he averaged like 14 points per game in Boston, in the city of Boston. On terrible shooting splits, by the way. So
that would make sense because he only averaged 19.8 in the series. And he had a great game. I believe it was game 4. He had a great game.
Yeah, game 4. He had a pretty good game. But yeah, man, you got to be able to like get it done at both home and on the road. You can't just get it done at home. So yeah, man, it's easily Kyrie. I actually expected him to be way better, especially considering the fact like he was the only one who's been here before and he knows what it takes to win. But man, he was beyond disappointed. Just the way he was going out there, it was just like it kind of was like a different player in the sense like.
It was,
yeah. Like what you've seen during the whole run in the West, and for him to get to the finals in the way he was performing was just like, man, who is this guy? But yeah, man, it's definitely Kyrie for me.
Yeah, it honestly, it was so drastic at points in the series the way he looked. Like, I started to just wonder if he's like getting old. You know what I mean? Like, he's just in the later rounds of the postseason. Maybe he's getting a little tired here. I don't know. It was odd to see him be so inefficient, especially on the road, especially as a guy that has had plenty to say about Boston and returning there and what he's going to do there and this and that. For him to just completely not show up, specifically in Boston when they need him, it was surprising for me. I know that you can kind of argue Luka. I think that was the other guy that I could look at, but. He still averaged close to 30 points. He still averaged the 8 rebounds, the 6 assists per game. So he still had good numbers,
Yeah,
right?
still good numbers.
It's the shooting percentages that kind of dropped for him. The 24% from the 3-point line. That's obviously not going to work, but I do agree. Kyrie has to be the answer here. I
Yeah.
mean, 41, 28, 100 shooting splits. So 41% from the field, 28% from the 3-point line for Kyrie Irving in this series. And that just doesn't sound
Yeah.
right to me, man.
You can't get it
Like,
done like that, man.
he
Like,
is not an inefficient player like that. Like
yeah,
I kudos to Boston to an extent,
yeah,
right?
their
For the way they
defense.
guarded him.
Yeah. And
But
Kyrie was getting a lot of open looks too, man. He just wasn't converting them, man. Like,
yeah,
and
it
like
was
you mentioned
very
with Luca, like he still got his numbers, but he's still gonna need some more from his sidekick and Kyrie, man. Like
yeah.
at bare minimum, you're gonna
Should be
need at
getting
least around
23,
yeah,
23,
23, man.
25.
23,
Like,
24. Cause I mean you gotta look at your other teammates as well, like PJ, Derrick Jones. If they're not giving you anything, I
yeah.
mean Kyrie gotta get it going and quick in a hurry. So yeah, like Kyrie has to be better for sure.
So with that being said, I mean it kind of points to the next level for the Mavs, right? It's the end of
Yeah.
the season here. What do they need to add? Like what do you think they were missing in this series when you look at Boston and kind of the difference here between these two teams? What were they missing in this series?
I'll probably say another efficient score.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say they would need
You
like
thought
another
it was going to
third
be Tim
punch.
Hardaway, right?
I
Maybe
sort of said PJ Washington,
PJ
Yeah,
Washington.
PJ,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe he could have been it, but I feel like they need a legitimate third option. Like PJ, he could be a pretty good fourth option, offensively.
Yeah.
But they need a legitimate third option, a guy who can like when Kyrie have off nights, you can have the other guy step up in that role and provide you with offense. So yeah, I would definitely say like more scoring for sure, and maybe like more consistent shooting from your bigs. Because I know Maxi Kleber was dealing with an injury or whatnot,
Yeah.
but when they was putting him at the five, he just wasn't giving them anything from 3-point range. So I feel like those are the two things they should address. Because you got the athleticism with Lively and Gafford in the front court, and
Yeah.
Derrick
Just need
Jones
that
Jr. as well. So
stretch.
yeah, just need more like consistent scoring from others.
It sounds like they need like Klay
Yeah,
Thompson. He
yeah.
could fit there real well
Yeah.
with Luca and Kyrie. Maybe
What
I
about?
don't know.
I
You'd
say
have to leave Golden State, but
no,
I
man.
mean
We
I don't
can't
know.
let
It
that
sounds
happen,
like they
man.
could use a
No,
shooter like
we
Klay
can't let
Thompson.
that happen, man. They can go out there and get a guy like DeMar DeRozan, though. I feel like he'll
That's
be pretty
interesting.
good.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
or your
I
boy
don't know if
Tobias Harris.
Yo, Tobias Harris. That's interesting, man. They
Yeah,
could fuck around and do that dumb shit. Whatever. I mean, if they do that, it would be interesting. I
yeah.
am interested to see like Tobias Harris front. You brought it up. Well, I'm interested to see if he goes to a different team. Does he look like a completely different player? Like can he average 20 points per game again? Like
Hmm.
I'm interested if Philadelphia just destroyed his confidence in himself, but
Hmm.
that's a story for another day. I hope
Yeah.
Dallas. If you're a Dallas fan out there watching, pray that your team doesn't go and get Tobias. That can't be the move. Like that can't
Hashtag
be the
Tobias
move.
for the max contract, man. Make it happen.
That cannot be the move, bruh. That's where I'll leave that. So with all that being said, you're looking at the Dallas Mavericks here. Are you disappointed, or was this season a success? Like, where are you at with the Dallas Mavericks season here? It has to be a success because they made the finals, right? But they did disappoint once they got there. So I'm curious what you think there.
Yeah, I'd say it's like 93% success and then the other 7% disappointed. And the reason being like disappointed is because like we all expected the Dallas Mavericks to be way better than what they were.
Yeah.
9-5, like we all predicted. Well, not all, but I think me and you both had the Celtics in 7, right?
Oh, you popped out of there on me for a second. What'd you say?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I said 93% success and the other 7% would be failure. Like the reason being for the failure is like me and you both had the Celtics in 7, just because we just knew how good the Mavericks were, but
Yeah,
they look like a completely different team, and a lot of that has to do with Kyrie Irving as well. He did not play
yeah,
nowhere near as good this whole series at all. So you got that, and then just it was just the way that they was losing. It just the Celtics, like obviously it's easier said than done to try to keep up with the Celtics and the offensive firepower they got over there. But man, it was just I don't know, man. It was just a boring finals to watch, to say the least. So that's where the 7% come, but the other 93%, like yeah, it was a success. I mean, you made it to the finals for the first time since Dirk was a Maverick. So that's one hell of an accomplishment right there, man. I'm pretty sure a lot of guys didn't have them making it to the finals. So I mean, that's a success right
Yeah.
there alone. So yeah, for the most part, I say it was a success for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair way to look at it. I tend to think the same thing. I did not have the Dallas Mavericks making it to the Western Conference Finals, to the NBA Finals. So
Yeah.
once they took care of business against OKC, they kind of had exceeded my expectations at that point. Um, yeah, I think it was a success. I just think you need to use it as a springboard. Don't be another one of those teams. You go to the finals, you lose, and then you disappear for a couple years, right? Like maybe this
Yeah.
is the only time that Luka and the Kyrie duo get to the NBA finals. I just hope it's not that. But the West is loaded, right? Like, so is like as successful as the season was, do you trust yourself to get back to the postseason next year, beat the LA Clippers, beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? Another year older OKC that is, and then go and beat Minnesota or Denver as well
Yeah.
in a stretch
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
That's hard to imagine that happening again.
Yeah.
Maybe it plays
I
out differently
mean,
for them to where they wouldn't have a stretch like that. But you
yeah.
get my point. There's a ton of
Yeah. I
talent
mean,
in the Western
and then not
Conference.
to mention, like you got the Grizzlies, they coming back, they're going to be better.
Yeah, that's a
You know,
great point.
you got the Kings. I mean,
The Warriors.
You seen the way the Rock is in the season.
Yeah.
So you know, it's a lot of teams on the come up, man. You just never know.
I
You never
saw
know.
I saw Malik Monk doing a little flirting with the Rockets, man. I saw he was
Yeah, I seen that.
something
Yeah,
about it being in Houston, something
yeah,
like
about a
that.
Rocket or something. He
Yeah,
finna get paid though for sure. I don't think the Kings could afford
absolutely.
him anymore.
Who? Oh, the Kings. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think they can afford him anymore, man.
Man, that's an interesting one too. I mean, Dallas. I don't know. It's an interesting fit as well. But Houston, obviously, that's a great fit as well with that
Yeah,
young
another
team.
scorer, you know.
He
So
would he would fit right in with them. But looking at the Celtics, though, them going forward, obviously they get this first chip with the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown era here. Do you think this is the beginning of a dynasty, or are they going to be able to keep this team together? Like, what are your thoughts there?
I think so, man. Because I know Tatum, both Tatum and Derek White are both extension eligible. So I'm sure they're going to go out there and extend to both of them. I mean, the real question for me is like, how the hell can they afford all of them? Like, but they're going to make it happen though, because I think Derek White is eligible for like a 4 year, 113 contract extension or something like that. And then
Yeah,
Tatum obviously can get like the 5 year,
super expensive.
$315 million. So yeah,
Yeah,
something like that. So I definitely feel like that this could be the start of a dynasty. I mean, you got Porzingis, he coming back. You just extended Drew Holiday. You know, Brown, he gonna be here for a long time. You know, Tatum White, you extend those guys, and then you got Horford, could potentially come back for another season. Then it's just about, adding the other pieces around. I think Pritchard,
yeah,
he's on a contract for another season as well. So
yeah.
just going out there and getting the right pieces to put around those guys, and yeah, I don't see why it can't be a dynasty, the start of a dynasty.
I honestly think they're gonna lose Derek White. I just
Mm.
I don't think like with the new CBA, everything coming into effect, they're gonna give Tatum the super max. They gave Jaylen Brown the super max. Drew Holiday got not a max, but a little bit under. Kristaps Porzingis, he's gonna be due for an extension too. So it's like I don't know. It could get to a point maybe where you have to decide between Porzingis and Derek White even. I'm not sure. Maybe they would have to move them both. Horford, I could see him retiring. Honestly, just you already got the chip. Like I guess you could come back and try to run it back really quick.
Actually, he will retire. I just seen him. I just thought about it. He will be returning. I seen a report today that I think the governor said he's going to return. So yeah, he's going to
Interesting.
return. Yeah, he's going to
Yeah,
return.
I mean he's about due. I mean he's still effective. Don't get me wrong. He's still
Yeah,
impactful
he
in the
still
game.
got. Yeah, he still got some value.
But I guess that'll be somebody they'll have to replace.
Yeah,
Obviously,
but see, like you say, it is interesting though, like with the Porzingis and Derek White thing. But because, like you said, like with they extend Tatum, what type of money they're going to be looking to work with here. Because I don't know if Derek White going to take a pay cut, man. Because
I know.
he
That's
can
the
get
thing.
he can make about like 20 million plus easily,
He's a
bro. Like his
really good player.
yeah,
Yeah,
man, his impact, man. Like he can make 20 million plus easily, bro. Like
I
but
do
I don't
agree.
know. I don't know the like how much they can offer him or whatnot. But yeah, so
It's
it'll be
interesting.
interesting.
I do think he would have to take a pay cut to stay there, right? Like
Yeah,
even
me too, bro.
Kristaps, I think will have to take a pay cut. I think Kristaps may have a year or two left on his.
Yeah,
I
he
could be
got
wrong.
2 more seasons left on his deal. So
Okay, yeah, so that makes more sense. But they could try to get ahead of Derek White, maybe trade him, try to get something in return going into
yeah.
next season. I'm not saying they will; it's just an idea, but more of a hope. I hope that they do that. Yeah, I actually have it written down here. So Kristaps Porzingis and Derek White will be free agents in 2025-26. So, and then Pritchard, you mentioned Pritchard. Oh my God, why is his name slipping my mind? Is it Sam Hauser? Sam Hauser,
Yeah,
the
the
other role
shooter.
player. Yeah,
Yeah.
the other shooter, floor
Hmm.
spacer for him. I guess it will come down to those guys as well. Can they be
Yeah, you got
consistent?
Xavier Tillman as well. You got
Yeah, they
Jaden
did find a
Springer.
little diamond there.
Yeah, you got Jaden Springer. So
Nah, he's not gonna end up shit. I can't believe he's
what?
getting a
Come on,
ring.
man.
Nah, I'm not gonna hate on Springer, man. He can defend. He can
Yeah,
defend.
he really can. Though he can
He
defend.
can.
I watched him closely. He can defend.
If he develops, maybe that makes a guy like a Derek White
Derek
or even
White,
if it on a
Drew
lesser
Holiday.
version, a Peyton Pritchard, right, makes them expendable. But
Yeah, like.
that's that would take some real development to replace Derek White.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would. I ain't gonna lie. It would.
I'm interested, man. Like how strapped teams will be going forward. Like, are teams just taking it lightly, or you know what I mean? Like, how are teams moving forward with the
Yeah,
new
CJ.
CBA?
CJ McCollum is a up, bro. Like he the reason that all this is going on
Yeah,
anyway, bro. Yeah,
yeah.
forget you, CJ. You will forever be ringless. You know, you forget you, bro. Like he the reason all this stuff is even happening anyway, bro.
That's hilarious, though. Forever be ringless. No, that's definitely possible. I do ultimately the first question I asked you about the dynasty. I tend to agree with you. I think it's very possible. Like, if there was any team that could have a dynasty, they're built like one of the best ones that could do
Yeah,
so.
for
Like,
sure.
yeah, they have a chance. They could turn it into something special now that they've finally broken through. And
Yeah.
Drew Holiday, man, can't sleep on that guy's impact. That dude goes there, wins a
He,
championship there,
he
wins one
was
in Milwaukee,
he
put
was
some superstars.
he was quote unquote cooked goods, as they said. He was cooked.
They
I
had
mean,
me believe them out there,
that's crazy to me,
them out
man.
there
Like,
had me believing that Drew Holiday was
hell
cooked. Not a
no,
chance,
bro.
bro.
Drew went like I mean, during that series against the Heat, I mean, he had a lot on him. I mean, you going out there, you having to go out the opposing
Yeah,
team best player and Jimmy
yeah,
Butler. And then not only that, while having to be a point guard, like, and then
yeah.
Giannis wasn't playing, so he had to be more aggressive offensively as well while being a point guard. So it was tough on him, you know. So you got your work cut out for you if you're doing something like that.
And you speak of work cut out. That's what the Eastern Conference has. If they want to, try to mess around with the Boston Celtics going forward, teams are going to have to
Yeah,
get better. Obviously the Knicks, the Sixers, the
yeah,
Pacers.
the
What
Heat.
Pacers locked up? Seems like they're going to lock up their guy Siakam, but
Mhm.
the Pacers, the Magic, these teams are going
Yeah,
to
the
have to
Heat,
get better.
Cavs.
Yeah, the Heat, the Cat, yeah, go down the list. And that's the thing. There's so little separation between all of these teams. I mean, the Chicago Bulls, I think we're all out on that roster they have, but they could
Yeah.
very easily flip some pieces and maybe they turn into a 7-6 or an 8 seed.
Mhm.
But teams definitely have work to do. Wanted to get your thoughts though on that Pascal Siakam rumor that came out today, report, whatever you want to call it, did come from Woj, so it is official.
Yeah.
It did say that Siakam is planning to sign a 4-year, $189.5 million max contract with Indiana once free agency does start, and he's eligible to do so. Is that the right move? It feels like a no-brainer to me. It was more, in my eyes, if Pascal Siakam wanted to stay in Indiana or not. not whether he gets a max or not. I thought he fit really well with them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like you mentioned, that was a no-brainer. I mean, do you remember like the pieces they gave up to get him? I know they gave up Bruce Brown. I know they gave us some picks too, but I'm trying to see like what was that other piece that they included in
Let
that
me look it
deal.
up really quick.
Okay, but yeah, like it was a no-brainer like doing this. I mean, you gave the pieces you gave up, and not just that. Like, I mean, he's an NBA champion. He's a nice piece alongside Halliburton, so that was a no-brainer move to make. All NBA caliber player. Like obviously he getting older, but I mean you couldn't lose him for nothing. So it was a good signing for sure.
Finalizing the trade. So it was Bruce Brown, Jordan Nwora, and 3 first-round picks.
Yeah, he gave up 3 first round. Yeah, that was the right move for sure.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean,
three first round picks. Yeah,
you had to sign
yeah,
it.
you got to bring it back. Yeah,
But I do agree. I thought that was
yeah. It's interesting to see like because I know Obi Toppin, he's a free agent as well. Then you got Jalen Smith, he's a free agent. So it'd be interesting to see
two
like
quality guys, right? Like you have to
yeah,
choose between them. I would imagine they would
yeah, you
go
would have to. Yeah,
Obi Toppin route, but Jalen Smith was another highly productive guy when he got the chance to play. It's a guy I would love to see the Sixers go after to maybe fill in, that backup spot for Joel Embiid or maybe even a power forward spot. So
yeah.
he is a talented guy, man. But Monty Williams.
Mm-mm.
Monty Williams, $65 million to not be the head coach of the God forbidden Detroit Pistons. What are your thoughts there, my man?
It's confusing, man. I'm not gonna lie, like, cause maybe I could understand it if it was more so like a contending team who made this move, but this is a rebounding team. Like, what is the ultimate reason of firing him? Like, you're rebuilding, like you're not contending, so like why try to go out
Just
there
throwing money
and
away.
just you're throwing money away because you fire him, but he's still going to get paid. I mean, what was his contract? Like a 5-year, $65 million deal or something like that?
Yeah, basically, I think it was more than that.
Hmm.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm
Well,
just
actually, I got it right here. So,
read it to
yeah, you're right. So when he got fired by the Suns, he got hired by the Pistons, securing a 6-year, $68.5 million deal, which was the largest coaching contract in NBA history at that time. And a year later, he was fired by the Detroit Pistons after just one season, securing a $65 million plus buyout. Like man, so the highest paying coach in NBA history get fired a year later is kind of crazy if you ask me.
Tell
But
me you
is
don't
it?
know what you're doing without telling me you don't know what you're doing.
But
Like
I don't know too much
that's what
about
they're
the
doing.
Pistons. But isn't they under new ownership or something like that?
Yeah, that was what came out. That was another report that came out at least was that the new ownership wants to start fresh, wants to have a coach that they hire.
Okay,
And
well, I could kind of understand that, but man, that's a lot of money, man. Like
it's a lot of
to
money.
be paying a guy who's not even gonna be like near your team, that's a lot of money, man. For real.
Hey, maybe it'll work out. Maybe it'll work out. It's going to depend on the next guy they hire, though. You have to
Yeah.
get that one right, right? And
Yep.
now you're going to be paying 2 coaches. So I don't know. It's hard to say where the Pistons are going
Yeah,
with
it
that
is, man.
franchise right
It
now.
is.
Um,
Cause I mean I would imagine they would extend Cade Cunningham this offseason, but you never know, man.
yeah, yeah, they have to, right? I was thinking like, would Cade want to extend that? But he's going to take the max money. You have to take the most money you can, at least on that first contract.
Yeah.
And then probably force his way out of there in about a year after he signs
Yeah.
it. Because Cade is a really good player, man. But
Yeah,
I
he's
mean, if you
nice.
put the
He
right
nice.
pieces around him,
He
but there's
nice.
talk about Tobias Harris going to Detroit. So.
Yeah, I seen it. Him and Miles Bridges, actually, I seen that.
Oh,
But
Miles Bridges, two completely different characters.
RTB MB, man.
Oh
Miles
my goodness.
Bridges.
Let's talk about something a little more fun. Maybe not as much like bad news as Monty Williams getting fired. It's not really bad news for him. He's still getting paid,
Yeah,
but
he's still
now
getting, I
he doesn't
mean,
have to do a job.
to be able to get fired and still get paid hella bread, I mean, that should be the ultimate goal in life. Like,
That's a good deal, actually. So
yeah,
I
I
guess
mean, that's
yeah.
terrific.
To
Nice.
move to like more fun, I guess you could say. Paul George. There's been a lot of Paul George talk today. There
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of Paul George Embiid talk over the weekend. Obviously, Embiid showing up in Dallas for that Game 4 matchup, was on
Yeah.
the set with ESPN, including Paul George,
Yeah.
and he did some lobbying. He did some lobbying
Yeah,
for
he
the
did
Sixers.
that. He did that.
I was happy about that. I was happy. What do you think about Paul George teaming up with Joel Embiid?
It would be nice. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't work. Just the only thing is
Injuries.
just
That would be the
just the
one.
health, just the health.
Injuries.
Like other than
Yeah,
that, like I feel like they'll be a pretty good duo. They can feed off each other pretty well, alongside
I
Maxi being
agree.
out there.
I
Yeah, it'd be
agree, man.
nice.
So that's what, Embiid was kind of insinuating. Like you would look, Paul George would look really nice next to Embiid, Maxey, and Philly, compete for a championship. It was interesting. Then Paul George comes out today. He has his pod drop, which I enjoy the Paul George podcast. So I don't know about you. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know if
one of
you
my
ever get
favorites,
to
man.
listen.
It's one of my favorite podcasts
Me
out there.
too.
Yeah,
I don't know. He's good at it. I'll
he
give him
really
that.
is.
He's
Yeah,
good
I
at the
hope he
podcast.
win the I don't know what type of award, but he definitely should win it. Though I
For
feel
the
like.
best like basketball or NBA
Yeah,
podcast.
he's been rolling all season. Like even to like this
His
past
guests are even the best, man.
yeah, like the past off season, like last year, 2023, like he's been killing it since then. So shout out to him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But on his podcast, he did give us a few tidbits today, at least quotes, different quotes that were pulled from the podcast today about his next destination, kind of things that went wrong
Yeah.
in LA with the Clippers, specifically after the Harden trade. I saw some Harden stands on Twitter. They were not happy with some of the comments by Paul George, saying basically that things fell apart when they traded for James Harden. He didn't say it like that, but he
Yeah, he didn't
said
say it like that,
when
but
they traded Batum and Rocco, which who did they trade him for? James Harden. Things fell apart for the Clippers. They didn't have the glue guys anymore, and
yeah,
that
I
hurt them
mean,
down the stretch. What were your thoughts about Paul George's comments? Kind of first on the Clippers situation, and then if you want to kind of gravitate more towards his other comments about where he would like to play going forward.
well, first off, like that's why like listening to the whole clip is extremely important because he wasn't really like down in James because he gave him, his props in that statement. He did, which is why you should listen to it. But
It was like the secondhand props.
yeah, but I
Like, oh
understand,
shit,
like,
I kind of dissed you. Let me say some good
yeah,
stuff about
yeah,
James here to make sure my relationship isn't
yeah.
fractured.
But I mean, he
That's my
technically
opinion.
did. He technically didn't lie because I mean, you seen the way how Batum
Yeah,
was for y'all. Like, just
yeah,
his defense against the
the
Heat in
little
that
thing.
play-in game was pretty damn good. Like the way he was able to switch from the inside onto the perimeter was pretty good. And if you had guys like Batum and Rocco on the Clippers, that would be pretty nice alongside Kawhi and PG. Like
Yeah,
that's a pretty good defensive team, especially when
yeah,
you go small. Like you can make teams pay. So I mean, he's absolutely right. I mean, just although like the Clippers did look pretty good when they had Daniel Tice out there for a stretch of
yeah.
time, like he was pretty good too. And they didn't play PJ Tucker at all, so I mean it was kind of rough. So I can understand PG talking about for sure because Rocco and Batum would definitely be, a huge difference. Like especially with them like going small when Zubac go out the game, like that would be huge. So I understand where he was coming from.
Does it? So, from my perspective, as a Sixers fan who has made it known, I hope the Sixers go after Paul George.
Yeah.
I will say there was a little bit of a drawback for me, and maybe I'm just reading into his comments a little too much, but the I don't the lack of accountability, that's what it is. Like he did not play his best basketball in the postseason. So for him to like kind of point towards like role players like Nick Batum and Rocco like being the difference in them, doing whatever their goal was to do this season, I would hope win a championship.
Yeah.
It kind of like worried me in a sense. Like, oh, this guy, like he can point the finger around the room, but does not reflect at all. Even to the point where he kind of excludes Kawhi out of blame as well. Like Kawhi didn't really play in the postseason. That kind of hurt as well. I don't know. I was kind of drawn back by that as a guy that Paul George didn't even average 20 points in the postseason per game. Now,
Mm.
is that just me expecting too much from Paul George at this point in
No.
his career, or
Oh, man.
what do you feel
I
about?
mean,
Like,
if he,
I just feel
like,
like that was a lack of accountability. I would rather hear him say, like, we as a team just were not good enough. Like, I get into specifics, but maybe just talk about yourself and what went wrong with yourself. But I don't know. He
I
is a
mean,
real
no,
hooper analyst at the same
it
time.
is. I mean, it is lack of accountability. I mean, you making top dollars. I mean, you should be held to this standard of, being out there, going out there and do what you need to do to help your team win. And Paul George he wasn't doing that this past postseason. As you mentioned, he didn't even average 20 points. I mean, there were times where James Harden was the better player than him,
Yeah.
in different games in that series against the Mavs. So yeah, it's just him being, not accountable or whatever. But speaking of that, I'm glad you brought this up because I meant to bring this to you. Did you see this report with Daryl Morey and PG? Because I seen somebody didn't really dive into it though, but
I
it
think I
was
know.
something with like PG and Harden. They was discussing like the relationship with Daryl Morey and how things would potentially be if Paul George were to go to the Sixers. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like,
So that report is more of like speculation on
oh,
what PG
speculation.
said on his
Okay.
pod, which he basically said, like, yeah, whenever we're like observing these other teams that we could potentially go to,
Mm-hmm.
there's relationships between players. There are players that are going to tell you, this guy is not the best guy to work with. And
Yeah.
so people take that and they insinuate that that's James Harden giving him, advice on Daryl Morey, which it would make the most sense. I mean, that would probably fit, the bill of exactly what he's saying.
Yeah.
So to that point, it's very possible. And I've said this before about the Sixers this offseason, but we're going to find out about Daryl Morey and his like relationships around the league this offseason because they have all the resources in the world to go out and get what they need to get this offseason. So if they don't, then there's obviously something wrong here. Like,
Yeah.
if Paul George is not signing back to the Clippers because whatever, like maybe they don't want to give him the max contract, which from the Clippers perspective, to be fair, 19 and a half points this postseason, 41% from the field, 36% from the three-point line. It's nothing too great there in the postseason. So maybe they don't want to max him
Yeah.
out when they have to sign back other guys, right?
Right.
So if you're not staying in LA, that's where you're from, that's where your pod's at, blah, blah, blah. Those are all the reasons to stay in LA. If you're not staying with the Clippers, where else are you going? Are you going to the Orlando Magic? That's one option. That's a team that's rumored to be interested.
Golden State.
You're gonna go play with Embiid and Maxey? Or are you gonna go play with, Wash Draymond, Wash Clay, and
Well, hold
the
up,
Golden
bro.
State
Hold up,
Warriors
bro.
out there
Hold
in
up
San
now.
Francisco?
Hold up, bro. Hold up now. Hold up. We're not finna do this right now, man. We're not finna do this, man. We're not finna do this, bro. We're not doing this right now, man. We're not doing this, man.
I mean, let's be real, Paul George.
On,
like,
we're not
the
finna do this
obvious,
here, bro.
the elephant in the room is the Philadelphia 76ers,
Oh,
Joel
man.
Embiid
Forget
and
all that,
Maxey.
man. Daryl
That
Morey is a
trio.
liar. Daryl Morey is a liar. You heard James Harden? Daryl Morey is a liar, okay? Keep that in mind, PG. Keep that in mind, bro. He's a liar. And plus, Paul George want to come play with some champions, See
Hey,
y'all,
don't worry about it. You guys are going to go ahead. You already extended Draymond last year. You're going to max out Klay Thompson this offseason. You see him working out with the Bahamian team.
Yeah.
You're going to max Klay Thompson out, and you guys are running it back. Come on, be real, Slim. Come on. You guys are running it back. Why would you run the dynasty back?
Okay, we're gonna bring Clay back, but we're gonna make some moves, bro. Trust. We got Chris Paul contract, we got Loon GP2. We're gonna make some moves, man. And plus, Paul George should want to come to the Warriors, see what it feels like to hang around champions, feel on the Larry O'Brien, trophy, just see what it feels like, to be around winners.
Right. If it's possible to sign him to a max contract, if the Warriors are able to, I would say that's a pretty sturdy option. Stay in California, stay in the West Coast.
It would have to be like a sign and trade, though. Yeah, it is possible. It had to be like a sign and trade. But since we're speaking on this, like the Clippers technically have no choice but to pay James Harden if you think about it, because if they don't pay him, like you're losing their salary slot. You can't just replace the money that you're that he can't coming off of. You can't just go out there and offer nobody like 30 million. So technically, they have to pay him if they're, because I mean, you can't just go out there and just replace him with for anybody.
Do you
So
think? Do you think Harden is hunting for the max contract this offseason? Or has he
absolutely,
come back down to earth?
Yeah, he gonna look for the max, man. Because correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he take like a pay cut with y'all, the
Yeah,
Sixers? Yeah, so
yeah.
he's gonna look to get his payday, man. I mean, this is gonna be his last one, so I mean, why not? So it's just probably about like
Interesting, man.
how long, maybe like a 3-year, 4-year deal.
Yeah, see, 3 years would be the max for me with James Harden, dog, because his
Yeah,
hamstring's
but
about to blow at some point, man.
he gonna look for the 4 years though, and
I
that's
know.
gonna be the tricky
You want
part
that
though.
security. Yeah.
Yeah, you do want that security, which is why it's like it's really tricky. Like, what are your thoughts on like it's kind of seemed like Paul George career with the Clippers is kind of over because I mean they had all season, even last season, to extend him.
Get it done.
You seen Kawhi get the extension, right? No
Yeah,
problem. But then
yeah,
Paul George, he hasn't gotten it yet. Like,
yeah.
so it's
I think
just
that is I think that could be part of the problem with them too, is like Kawhi getting it first, or what Kawhi got compared to what they're offering Paul George.
yeah,
And I think when you're Paul George, you're looking at the market, man, it couldn't be a better year for him specifically, even at this age, to
right.
become a free agent. Like, we're talking about Paul George. I'm not even 100% sure how old this dude is. I believe he's in the mid-30s, right?
He's 34, I think. Yeah,
34.
34.
So you give Paul George a 4-year contract, 4-year max contract. He's going to be 38 at the end of that contract. This
Yeah,
is a guy that, has broken his leg. He's dealt with several leg injuries over his career. Yet, I'm still sitting here saying, Sixers, go max this guy out this summer. Like, that's how lucky of a summer Paul George has walked into compared to, like, yeah, LeBron's there. Like, is he going to leave LA? Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not 100% sure he's going to stay there, but I don't think you could get a better offseason for Paul George to get this max contract, which is why I don't think he's going to be back in LA, because I don't
yeah, I
see
don't
how they
see
can
it either.
afford it.
Yeah, I don't see it either, man. I really don't. And then like another thing the Clippers got to figure out, like I know they just extended Ty Lue. He got a pretty nice payday, but I mean, what direction are you looking ahead in? Like,
So
how long are you going to keep the duo of PG and Kawhi together? I mean, they've been together 6 seasons. They haven't won a title. They came close back in 21. They made the conference finals, and since then it's been kind of like going down. So the real question, like, how long are you going to keep that duo together if you do
yeah,
retain Paul George? So
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I just don't know.
it's a lot of things to answer, man.
It's a Yeah, it's a confusing topic, because it's just like, what is the other option for them?
Yeah,
Like, sign back James Harden, and then what? Like, how do
yeah,
they get
then
better?
what? Yeah, yeah. How did you get
I don't know.
better?
I
Like,
don't
cause
know.
if you lose PG for nothing,
Yeah,
like maybe he do you a solid, do a sign and trade.
yeah. No,
It just depends.
the sign and trade, that makes a ton of sense, right? Like, to help them out, and that's if he's looking to help them out.
Yeah,
It
that's
depends how
yeah,
that relationship ends, right?
right.
So that could play a lot into it as well, man. But it's the start of the off season. This is the type of stuff we'll get to chat about, and it's honestly more fun. Like, I won't
Yeah,
lie
it
to you, I
is.
have a lot of fun talking hypotheticals. And it's
Yeah, it
something
is.
fresh. It's new, right? Like, it's something to be excited about now that the season has finally concluded. We are into the new season. So we'll be back later this week, early next week, whatever tends to happen. We'll see how the schedules play out. But we'll be back sometime within the next 5-6 days, I would say, right back here with NBA to the Galaxy pod. We'll get into more NBA draft type coverage, take a
Yeah.
look at what some teams may do in the draft, and then, of course, if any other rumors, reports come out before then. But that being said, give my buddy Slim here a follow at RTR30111 on X. You can find me at Scotty Drown. Be sure to subscribe to the NBA to the Galaxy pod on YouTube. Help us grow. Be sure to be there for the next show. So turn your notifications on. You'll be notified exactly when we go live, guys. But thank you for commenting. Thank you for viewing. We'll see you next time.